Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
We take, we rise again. Blood and grit, it's how we begin. Matt and Aaron fire up the flame. Wrestling lives on the Tough Bumps name.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tough Bumps episode 9. My name is Matt Connerton, and of course, all the way from the great state of Iowa, Eric Pilcher is with me. Hello, Eric.
Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon. So if you, for our live listeners and or viewers, we are streaming the show live on Saturday at about 3:12 p.m. in the Eastern time zone. And of course, most people will get this on the podcast edition of the show. But for those of you who are streaming live, welcome. We do know that, I know that Night of Champions is happening right now, but Jenny and I haven't even finished watching SmackDown yet. So we're going to have to go back to that. Of course, I'm on the air Friday nights. We don't get to watch SmackDown live because I'm on Friday nights. I'm on Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C at the radio station. So what I end up doing is we watch SmackDown on Saturday after the radio show when we get home. And of course, Night at the Champions being in Saudi Arabia is super early. So we're not even done SmackDown yet, but I'm dying to watch the closing segment on this week's SmackDown. Dying to see it because apparently it was quite entertaining.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So I am very interested in seeing that. So welcome everybody. And of course, we've got, let's see. Oh, let me get that chat room open because sometimes people do like to chit chat, and that's always nice. And if you're new to the show, of course, we usually start out with a couple of news stories. We call that the undercard. And then we get to the main event, which is
dear God,
a big subject that I think Eric is dreading.
Yep. Because of the fact that this is somewhat of a democracy. I stand before you, a broken and defeated man, with the subject of this week's episode.
Although you're the one who brought it up. And see, I wasn't even thinking about it. And look, you said you were willing to take one for the team.
I am a man of the people.
Yes.
It is timely. You know, I may not be a real New Yorker, but I am a man of the people.
Mm-hmm. Who among us is a real New Yorker, really?
Who really is? And we don't do song dedications on this program.
No,
we don't do that. We to certain females, and yeah. Hey, maybe there's a reason why I'm in the land of the single. Maybe I need to go down that road. Dedicate very vulgar songs to women.
Right.
That I sing at karaoke with my dulcet tones.
Uh-huh.
Hey, I don't even know. Until I met you, I've never even heard the word dulcet.
Oh, really? Oh, it's a great word, is it not?
I don't think I still know what it means, but it sounds subdued, which I would never consider myself to be subdued in anything.
Dulcet tones meaning soothing and enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah, no, none of the above with Eric Pilcher.
By the way, I'm going to check something live here as we're streaming because we should now. I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Because, as you know, I have no talent.
That's what they say in New York City.
Yeah, I have no talent, apparently.
Well, I have some good news. Let me just make sure it's working here. Looks like we are streaming live. There we go. We are streaming live to the Tough Bumps Facebook page. The only reason I mention that and why it's significant is I didn't know until recently Facebook had this policy, and they're always changing policies. Maybe it's a new thing, but apparently if you begin a new page on Facebook, you cannot stream live to that page for the first 60 days. But now that we're finally at episode 9, we can stream directly to the Facebook Tough Bumps page, as well as on, of course, the other Facebook pages and some others, and where else? Oh, and on Twitch. We're also streaming on Twitch. So there you go. I took Rumble off of it because nobody gives a shit about anything I do on Rumble.
Yeah. Well, Rumble is just such a niche audience. Although I think we may attract a lot of pro wrestling fans on Rumble.
Probably. I bet there's a lot of pro wrestling fans that are. That's a good segue into the undercard, because I bet there's a lot of people on Rumble who are big fans of the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. You know who isn't a big fan of the Hulkster?
Who's that?
Cleveland, Ohio, apparently.
Why do you say that, Eric?
I say that because ticket sales for the Hulkster's latest venture, Real American Freestyle, Matt, breaking news, ain't going well.
No. Newer listeners might not know this, but we did a segment early in the, I think it might have been on episode 1 or 2, about Hulk Hogan's Real American Freestyle Wrestling, his new project, his new endeavor, his venture, if you will, with Eric Bischoff and another guy whose name I can't remember. Apparently, and so we discussed it, and we said that we thought that this venture would ultimately fail. And what is happening right now is this venture is, in fact, immediately failing right out of the gate. MSN has a story up here titled, Hulk Hogan and Bischoff essentially have no tickets sold for RAF's debut show.
Yep.
This is
they have, as of I have an article pulled up myself. As of June 25th, so 3 days ago, they had 380 tickets sold of a 3,882 seat arena.
Now, according to the article that I'm looking at from MSN, this says that it actually holds 1,300. 300 tickets sold out of 1,300 available seats. Yeah, WrestleTix, the WrestleTix account to be more precise. They're showing, okay, I see why we have a discrepancy in numbers, Eric, because there's a difference between the capacity, the available capacity of the building and what they've put on sale. So the current setup for this event, okay, let me clarify this. And now that it's clearer in my own head as I'm looking at this article from MSN. So the capacity of the building is a little bit over 13,000. But the available setup, the current setup for this is just under 4,000. And they've got 3,500 available tickets, and they've only sold 380. Eric has disappeared from the stream. He froze up and then he disappeared. So I don't know if it's a problem with Eric's internet connection, but we'll bring him right back in as soon as he reappears. Yeah, so so they've sold 380 tickets out of available 3,500. Or no, I'm sorry, 3,800, but you take out almost 400, it's 3,500. I'm rounding these numbers here, but I think Eric might be having trouble getting back on. Well, let's see. Well, while we wait for Eric to return, I can read a little bit more of this article too. The debut show for Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff's Real American Freestyle takes place on August 30th in Cleveland, and ticket sales are off to a terrible start. WrestleTix noted yesterday that only 380 tickets were distributed so far in a venue that holds over 13,000. This is from Dave Meltzer reports from Wrestling Observer, quote, tickets went on sale for their show on August 30th. I said they should be doing a 1,000 seat, like Orlando soundstage. Hogan's big thing is we got to book NBA arenas. We got to book big time venues. And they have 380 tickets out in a building that would sell out at about 13,000. Meltzer goes on to say, and that's not sold because you're going to have tickets booked for comps, especially for the first time, when you're trying to get sponsors and investors and things like that. You know what I mean? And business partners for new things. I'm not saying it's all 380 tickets that are comps, but probably most. So, I mean, they basically have no tickets sold. It's been a couple of days. The show is August 30th. So there's plenty of time. It's 2 months plus, but people weren't dying to see this thing, and they've done nothing to publicize it.
And 380 does include comps. Now, one thing that we're not looking at is one of their top signings, Ben Askren, is in the hospital needing a lung transplant.
Oh, I didn't know that. A lung transplant?
Yes.
How old is he?
You would ask that, wouldn't you?
Because that's some heavy duty stuff. A lung transplant?
He's younger than me. He's 40.
He's 40 and he's getting a lung transplant.
He had a severe case of pneumonia and just can't. Yeah, but he was one of their top free agent signings to this promotion. Look, and if you go, I mean, and the thing with this is, unfortunately, is that there isn't a lot on the website either telling us what we can expect.
Well, that's the
with
thing.
This endeavor.
Well, Meltzer kind of pointed that out too. I don't know. I read a quote of his that happens. I know you don't like Meltzer, but it was in the MSN article. And he was saying they really haven't done much to promote it. And now that I'm thinking about it, to be honest with you, if we didn't know about it, like if you hadn't brought, I think you brought it to my attention initially that this was going on, that they had this new venture.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm not, but other than that, it's really very quiet out there. Like I'm not seeing anything about it.
The most they've done is the guerrilla marketing from Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
To start it, I knew of where they were planning to hold this. And I felt that where they were planning to hold it, because it's not, no offense to Cleveland, but I don't look at Cleveland as a wrestling hotbed.
Right.
Like, you'd probably want to do this somewhere like Atlanta. You might want to do it in Florida or New York. I don't think that would happen. But somewhere, maybe Chicago, somewhere that it has a foothold in wrestling in general.
Right.
So, I mean, Cleveland, I don't know if they got a deal with the rate to host this, but yeah.
And this will, if this is seen as a failure out of the gate, and it's already, I mean, we were predicting it, but it's already on its way to being a failure. I mean, this thing's gonna end quickly. I mean, you have to, you know, make some sort of a big splash coming out of the gate. Even if you fall short of expectations or where you need to be on a business level, coming out of the gate, launching something like this, launching anything, you've got to at least look like you've got some sort of momentum, like you've got something happening here. This is appearing to be a cataclysmic failure right out of the gate. You know, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And this is bad. Like it's one thing to start something that maybe doesn't go gangbusters right at the beginning. So it's going to take some work. And, you know, anyone who's an entrepreneur knows that happens sometimes, but this is just, nobody gives a shit to begin with about it other than to laugh at it like we do. So how does this have any chance of succeeding?
It doesn't. In fact of the matter is this, is they don't have a TV deal. At least I don't think they do. Everything they have done has been backwards with this. Usually you start the promotion, you get a TV deal, you get the television company behind you to market it, you get advertisers, you get sponsors, then you work towards that first event. They just decided we're going to do this first event and let the chips fall where they may. I haven't even heard if it's going to be on DAZN, Thriller, Feature Report. If you're not in the Cleveland area, where can you watch this?
Well, that raises another question in my mind, because to your point, yeah, you have to have some sort of distribution in place. Short of that, if you don't have something on television, or if you don't, or a stream, a major streaming service, or short of that, a minor screening service, or short of that, a well-promoted YouTube channel, at the very least, you got to have a YouTube channel that people can watch this on, where people can stream it. If you're not going to have anything else, do they even have that set up? I have seen nothing to promote this thing.
They
Nothing.
are 66 days out. Less than that. 60-ish days. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
60-ish days out from what is going to be one of the biggest live event failures ever.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? I mean, Hogan, we know, we've said a lot about Hogan, but Bischoff isn't an idiot. What's happening here with it? Like, see, this makes me wonder. Remember when I asked you before, I said, is Bischoff just involved in, I assume none of Bischoff's own money has gone into this, right? I would hope not, for his sake, because I actually like Eric Bischoff. I don't agree with him on everything, certainly, but I like him and I respect him tremendously. Is he, but the thing that I asked you before is, do you think he really thinks this has any shot, or is he participating in this?
I believe in one of the interviews I listened to, he expects it to be a failure.
He said that? Because the thing that I had asked you before is, do you think Bischoff is just doing this out of some sort of a sense of obligation to Hulk Hogan, because he's such a booster of Hogan?
You got to understand something about Bischoff. He's a combat sports aficionado. And we've talked about this, that he was a former kickboxer. So yeah, this is kind of in his wheelhouse. The problem is, you have one person that is likable, one person that is toxic, and one person no one knows.
Right.
How are you going to attach a vehicle to this?
Mm-hmm. And if you're going to, not only that, but where was the hole in the market for this kind of thing to begin with? Like, who is this for? Who is clamoring for this? I mean, it's who was going, wow, I really wish there was something like, I don't know, Real American Freestyle Wrestling that I could watch. Because
I've never sat there. I have never sat there and straight up said, man, I gotta watch some Greco-Roman wrestling.
No,
I have never said that.
Me neither.
So for me, this is new.
Yeah.
But
the other thing is too, because when you say this is new, so that's an important comment, because
I mean, until recently, Matt, sorry to interrupt, the NCAA wrestling tournament was sometimes on a tape delay.
Yeah.
So there isn't this. I live in Iowa, which is the epicenter of wrestling. I mean, everyone knows even a dash of knowledge about wrestling. Iowa wrestling is a dynasty. They won like 12 out of 14 national championships at one point, some obscene number.
Okay.
So, but I have not heard a single person talk about this.
Right. But see, that takes me back though to what you were saying about this is new. If you have something that's new that you're trying to introduce, you've got to have some, because you got to have some young, I hate to be ageist, but you got to have some younger people involved in the launching of it. I don't mean from the talent side in terms of the competitors. I mean, actually being the public faces of it. So, 70 something Hulk Hogan and 70-year-old Eric Bischoff isn't going to cut it. If you're going to launch something like this, if Iowa is such a hotbed for this kind of thing, it should probably come from Iowa initially and then expand out from there. And it should be founded and pushed by younger people in Iowa, with some older people involved who know business and so forth, but younger people who can be the face of it and say, hey, we have something cool. We have something appealing, because you don't market, aside from, well, this is going to sound really ageist, but aside from the kinds of things you see marketed late at night on cable news, you don't market something to 70-year-olds. And if you have 70-year-olds as the face of what you're doing, then that is who you're marketing these things to. So there's no plan here. There's no strategy that I can see. It's just like, well, Hulk Hogan, he's famous.
To piggyback on your thought about Iowa, we
Yeah.
have arenas that are not such an albatross to sell out. They could have it at Carver Hawkeye, which is where the University of Iowa hosts their wrestling meets. They could
Yeah.
have it at the Extreme Center in Coralville, right outside of Iowa City. They could have it at not Wells Fargo Arena. That's pretty big. The McLeod Center in Cedar Falls. There's buildings here in Cedar Rapids they could have it at. I think that, I don't know. This might be one of the most haphazard sporting endeavors I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've read online chat message boards, whatever, people comparing this to the XFL. The thing with the XFL is the XFL actually did very well the first week.
Coming out of the...
What killed them is week 2, the feed went down.
I don't remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a big game, and it was a good game, compelling game, and they lost the signal.
Okay. Well, yeah, that'll kill you. Yeah.
And then they pissed off Lorne Michaels.
Because, yeah, there was that week that Saturday Night Live started really late because of an XFL game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it pissed off Lorne Michaels. And if you piss off Lorne Michaels at that stage of the game, that's kind of the equivalent of don't tug on Superman's cape.
Right, right.
So yeah, it was just a tough spot. My point is there was at least a precipice of success with the XFL.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This has none. This is an unmitigated disaster. I looked at their roster. I don't know who 90% of these people are.
That's a problem. Yeah, yeah. And the XFL too. I mean, obviously it had a lot of juice behind it. It had the whole marketing machine of WWE behind it, and NBC on board behind it, and all of it. The XFL had a lot going for it. This has nothing. It's just nothing. It's like an indie show.
That's a low blow, Matt.
Well, but you know what I'm saying? Just in terms of, like, nobody knows about it. Nobody gives a shit. There's not the market for this.
That's a low blow, Matt. Don't put an indie show in this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But no. Well, so what do you think happens? Do you think they just scrap it? Do you think they just cancel the event?
I think you got to go forward at this point. Good, bad, or indifferent. You have to go forward because there is money invested into this. You've booked the arena.
Right. Yeah. So probably the smartest path forward for who did put their money into this?
I don't know.
Do we even know? Well, whoever it is, they're going to get a nice tax break. I mean, they'll get a nice tax write-off, I should say. It'll be a total loss. Having losses isn't bad if you're a business and that you can write that off on your taxes, just like, movie studios release movies that flop, you write it off.
Real American Freestyle Wrestling League is backed by venture capital investors, primarily Left Lane Capital. Cassius, a venture capital fund, is also among the investors.
Okay. Yeah, they'll have a nice write-off. So I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to them. But yeah, it's going to be a total loss.
Will Real American Beer get a write-off?
Well, they're
a sponsor.
Yeah, but you don't get to sponsor something and write it off if it fails because that's not.
Maybe the huckster should call his good buddy Donald Trump.
Maybe. Good Lord. Well, it'll be interesting to see whether it gets canceled or not. I think that, I think this will probably be the one and only event for Real American Freestyle.
I disagree.
Oh, really?
I think they're going to do another one.
But why? Why?
I mean, try to recoup some losses.
I don't know how you would even do it though. Like, what would be the strategy? Like, I don't see a path.
Put it in a smaller venue.
Yeah, but it'd have to be.
Put it in a smaller venue. Try to piggyback it to a show going on in the area. Like, I don't.
Put it in an Elks Lodge somewhere. I don't know what you do. I mean, 380 tickets. That's so. I mean, I understand that's not the final tally, but
380 tickets comped and sold.
Yeah,
those are key words,
right?
That just means those are tickets that are accounted for. They have not divulged how many were purchased.
Right, that's right. Good Lord.
Like, it's not even 10, it's a little under 10% of that arena's capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Why are we so
Why
are we so smart though? Because we predicted all of this. Like, we saw this coming. How did we know?
Eric Bischoff predicted it. He said this will probably fail.
Yeah.
I mean, look, everyone predicted this. Everyone saw this happening.
Yeah.
Because there's no clamoring for it. Look, when the last majorly successful combat venture started, which was the UFC, there was a clamoring for something different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you had the success of films like Bloodsport, Kickboxer. Jean-Claude Van Damme was a huge star at this point. Steven Seagal, another huge star at this point. Bruce Lee was coming back into the vernacular through budget-released VHS tapes. The old Shaw Brothers Kung Fu films. So there was a build for this. There is no build for professional freestyle wrestling.
No, you're right. You're right. Well, all right. Well, there's probably nothing more to say about that. Should we move on to the next subject?
You're just trying to get me all worked up for the main event.
The undercard. I don't think that's necessary. I think you'll be plenty worked up.
You know, I really am trying to be Frank Costanza this week.
Okay.
Serenity now. I have a feeling I might say that quite a few times. And it's going to start with this next news story.
Okay. This isn't so much a news story as just so Karrion Kross, who and by the way, let me just say this. I've been wondering for a long time now how it is that this guy, they made him such a big star in NXT, and he's been a star other places, but they haven't been able to figure out how to effectively use him on the main roster. That's always really surprised me. And I will also say this. Have you ever watched a shoot interview with Karrion Kross?
I've seen clips.
He is enormously, at least in my opinion, enormously likable. He's just a very likable person in interviews. He comes across great. And an interesting guy, I would say, very intelligent and articulate, and he definitely has some charisma and does a killer Jesse Ventura impression. He's got all that, and he definitely has screen presence. He's got all of it, and yet they have struggled so much to figure out what to do with him on the main roster. And then they finally seem to be doing something with him. And then this report comes out, and now we talked before the stream about you have some thoughts on the validity of this.
I think my thoughts may change with what I just read.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm curious now. But we were talking about how Wade Keller was reporting that he had sources within WWE that said that Karrion Kross is reluctant to take bumps. And he doesn't like to take flat back bumps. And I thought that was pretty strange. And apparently there's some others who are debunking that and saying, no, that's not true at all. But according to Wade Keller and the sources he talked to, that is the reason why he can't seem to get a strong main roster push, at least nothing that is sustained. Although to me, it's like, well, then how do you explain his success in NXT, where he was definitely over? And then, of course, they brought him to the main roster and Vince made him wear that stupid looking helmet and everything. Yeah, what the fuck? Anyway, that didn't help matters on the main roster. So this stuff started to leak out. Wade Keller reporting, well, he doesn't want to take bumps, which obviously, if you're not willing to take bumps, you're not going to get very far, right? Because, if you don't want to bump for people you're in the ring with, then who's going to even want to work with you? So, but this, I had never heard anything like that until Keller started reporting it. And you had some thoughts about Wade Keller. Might get some clicks out of this one. But anyway.
What happens when the condom breaks and you don't realize it till 3 months after?
We should tell people too, for anyone who, a lot of people won't even know, Wade Keller, of course, from PW Torch, which is PW, obviously Pro Wrestling Torch, pwtorch.com, which I used to visit that website quite often. And I never personally had any kind of an issue with Wade Keller or his content. I don't even remember why I stopped paying attention to the Torch, but they're one of the first sort of quote unquote dirt sheets that really got big on.
I will say, bashing Wade Keller is very touchy because of his lifestyle and such. He was at the center of and I get to bash him again, that stupid piece, waste of air and just human flesh, Bill Watts. Wade Keller was at the center of it. Bill Watts, that's who the interview was done with.
Well, where Bill Watts made racist comments.
Yeah, and like Bill Watts even bashed homosexuals. Wade Keller wasn't out yet.
I didn't know Wade Keller, not that it matters to me, but I didn't know Wade Keller was gay.
No, it doesn't matter to me either, but you could tell in the audio of the interview, Wade Keller is very uncomfortable at that point.
I thought he was married and had children. Not that necessarily means anything, but I mean, hell, there's even a band called Gay Dad.
Let me double check my sources here. Give me a second.
What does Dave Meltzer say about it? I'm kidding.
Yeah, Wade Keller is gay.
Wade Keller is gay.
Yeah, he is a homosexual.
Okay.
I mean, again, I mean, live your life. But yeah, I was pretty sure it was Wade Keller.
He does have a kid. Okay, I'm looking at. Yep. Okay, yes, you're right.
But you can tell he got very uncomfortable, and I will always have respect for Wade for continuing the interview and keeping his composure.
Yeah, because that has to be pretty challenging.
I mean, and Bill Watts is not an unimposing guy.
Right.
Yeah. Again, everyone, sidebar, fuck you, Bill Watts. You're a piece of shit. You're a racist asshole. And everything bad that happens to you, you deserve.
I won't argue.
I mean, yeah. I joke about this. Subjects we will never do an episode on. We will never do a subject on. Bill Watts will never be a subject. Because if you guys want to know more about him, look him up, type in Google, Bill Watts, racist, Bill Watts, Dark Side of the Ring. You will see clips of some of the absolute deplorable things he said about Ernie Ladd, Junkyard Dog, guys that lined his pockets with money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just absolutely disgusting. And again, I know Bill Watts isn't the only promoter that's spoken like that.
Sure.
But he did some other things too. Like when he was at WCW, they were at a board meeting. He went out to the balcony of Turner Tower and pissed off the balcony in the middle of the meeting.
That is, I know from my own experience in the corporate world, that kind of thing is generally frowned upon. Yeah.
Could you imagine sitting in a board meeting and Bill Watts gets up and just walks out to the balcony, lets loose his hog and drains the main vein?
I tell you, to be honest with you, I find it hard to imagine being in any kind of a meeting and having anyone doing that.
There
maybe
are some people I could see doing that. I'm thinking of one in particular right now, but it's just so uncouth.
yeah, well, yeah. It's just bizarre, really. I mean,
What do you even-
if I witness that, I would have to wonder: is this person mentally ill? Are they having some sort of a nervous breakdown to actually do that? Like, what is that? What is that? And then, of course, he was fired, right? He wasn't fired for that.
No, he
Oh.
was suspended for that.
Okay, what got him fired? Was he said something racist, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what got him fired. That's what basically, because a photo had surfaced of Hank Aaron taking a picture with him.
Oh, I think I remember this.
And Mark Madden, who knew Hank Aaron, kind of messaged Hank and said, "Hey, this guy's a racist asshole. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't know him. We were just at a Turner dinner and he came up and shook my hand and started talking."
Yeah.
And they took a picture. And 2 or 3 days later, Bill Watts was fired.
Yeah.
And that came from Turner. Eric Bischoff had no.
Right. He had no power to do that. That came from Turner.
Well, Eric Bischoff Bischoff was really just kind of there at that point. Hank Aaron was a big deal in Turner Sports, and he just kind of said, "I will not be associated with this."
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. But getting back to Wade Keller,
Sorry,
So-
we really sidebarred there.
that's okay. But yeah, so Wade Keller reporting about this information about Karrion Kross. And then you said
Look-
something interesting. You said you just read something just now.
I have the Night of Champions results as they're happening. Karrion Kross actually had a match on the card against Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn won in a squash.
Really?
I mean, not a squash, but it was a very short match. Karrion Kross got some offense in. Sami Zayn hit the exploder in the corner. Haluva kick. 1, 2, 3. Head to the back.
So they're going to continue to not push Karrion Kross then, I assume.
I don't know how you can push him after that.
So what do you think is going on? I mean, the thing about him not taking bumps, that's pretty absurd, right?
Oh boy, that's tough because I've actually seen him take bumps.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. I mean, how far would he even get in the business to begin with if he didn't take bumps? I don't know. Do you agree with me that he's
Riley Herbst from 2311 Racing here, and you know what grinds my gears? Waiting for coffee. But instead of counting frappes and lattes, I fire up Chumba Casino. No apps, no fuss, just fun social casino games to pass the time. By the time my coffee's ready,
Order for Riley.
I've already taken a few victory laps. Next time you're stuck waiting, make it entertaining. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
that they should
I
figure
think
something
that's-
out to do with him?
I think with his look, he has charisma.
And the entrance is awesome. I love the entrance.
is awesome, and
Yeah.
Scarlett is gorgeous.
She's
I
a
think-
very important part of the entrance. What makes the entrance so cool? Yeah.
I think the issue is I do believe he is limited in the ring,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's one of those things where he's like, "I'm not going to do that."
Right.
I don't think he would. I think it's just finding the right story.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a long history of guys in pro wrestling that have had it all, just not you can't find the right story for them.
Yeah.
And then when you finally do, the window's closed.
Yeah.
It sucks,
Yeah.
but it's nature of the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an entertainment business, and it's like when that actor or actress is just waiting for the right script, and they do clunker after clunker after clunker, and they finally get that right script, and they have a knockout performance, but no one sees it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been so much going up to that. I think apathy is the worst thing for a pro wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's I think eventually when he does get that moment, apathy is going to happen. And unfortunately, he's a victim of WWE right now is very top heavy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they have no shortage of talent right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you have stories that could go on for any direction you can go. I mean, 2 big spots are going to be open or open up because Cena's leaving in December. Roman Reigns is going to be in a movie. He's going to be in the Street Fighter film as Akuma.
Yeah.
So he's going to be gone for a little bit longer. There's some room, but not much, because those are technically part-time guys.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. I hope for the best for him. I disbelieve he refuses to take bumps. And that's such a generic statement too, because there are guys that refuse to take specific bumps
Sure.
out of safety and the fact that they don't feel comfortable doing it. If
Yeah.
you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it. And I believe Karrion Kross, if I'm not mistaken, has had a major neck surgery.
I didn't know that. That's
I
interesting.
think he has had a major, if not neck, it was a major injury that shelved him. I think it was while he was with Impact.
Okay.
So there is that.
Yeah. All right. Well, shall we move on to the main event?
Why? Oh my God.
There he is. There he is. Bill Goldberg. This is late stage Bill Goldberg because, as you can see, the gray in his goatee.
I love you use late stage because that's the same term associated with cancer.
Yes, there he is. There he is. Where do we start? Well, actually, so part of why this is so timely is because he's got that match with Gunther. Or maybe it already happened. Wait, is that a night
No,
of champions?
next week.
Well, that's next week.
Yep.
Wait, what?
Saturday night's
main event. He's got the match with Gunther, which will be
Please don't kill Gunther.
his retirement match, right?
You even have it as a cutout. This is disturbing on so many levels.
There he is. He's looking right at you, Eric, and saying, "You're next." How's that make you feel?
It's bowel-inducing.
I can get rid of him for now. We might have to bring him back though.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
At some point during the conversation, he's going to want to show his face again. But yeah, so he's got the match with Gunther, which allegedly is going to be his final match, his retirement match. So I noticed something when he came out and challenged Gunther on SmackDown. And Cornette, I was listening to Cornette's comments, Jim Cornette, of course, his comments on this, and he noticed something that I noticed as well, but Cornette put it better than I was able to articulate it in the moment.
As Corny does with anyone.
But yeah, I don't know if you saw.
Master orator and Jim Cornette is going to put it better than you can.
Yeah, he's remarkable. But he said that Goldberg was like walking sideways, sort of sideways in a way that an old man walks who's had too many surgeries or something. But I noticed it too. Like when Goldberg was walking out, it looked like he was walking a little funny. He looked a little bow-legged for one thing, which I understand. Shawn Michaels has the same problem, right? Their knees are so bad that they don't quite, it affects their posture even as they're walking, let alone just standing. But yeah, he looked like he was having a little bit of trouble, and he was completely out of breath too by the time he got to the ring. But so I don't know what this match is going to be like that he's going to have with Gunther, but I predict Gunther goes over. But maybe, I feel like they've been kind of hinting for a little bit, because Gunther has certain, obviously he's a heel and he's a great heel, but every once in a while he shows just a little hint of something here or there of a potential babyface emergence. And I almost wonder if they're going to have him go over Goldberg, but have it be a harder fought victory than Gunther was expecting. That too. But what I'm thinking is maybe Gunther, it's a harder fought victory over Goldberg than he was expecting. So at the end of it, he shows respect for Goldberg and acknowledges in some way that he may have underestimated him, but Gunther still goes over. But maybe that's the beginning of an actual babyface turn for Gunther.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some good can come out of this.
Yeah.
Look, I've actually read online some people proposing maybe you have Goldberg go over. Yeah, no, you already had Gunther tap out on the biggest show.
Yeah.
You do not have him job out to a 60-year-old man who hasn't wrestled in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Goldberg is only 58. How dare you? No, I mean, he is
58 years too long.
He looks great for a 58-year-old dude. He's more jacked than any 58-year-old dude I know.
When you have a needle in your ass, it's pretty easy.
Do you think he's are you suggesting he might be pharmaceutically enhanced?
I'm suggesting that very much so.
A little human growth hormone in there too, maybe?
A lot of little human growth hormone.
Yeah. Maybe. He's definitely smaller than he used to be. And by the way, he's definitely shrunk, and that's something that just happens. We do shrink as we get older. Hell, I used to be 5'11", now I'm 5'10". But he definitely, you realize it though, when you see him face to face with Gunther and how much shorter Goldberg is. And it's like, that dude lost a couple inches. I mean, he's lost significant height.
I mean, yeah, they should avoid face-offs between these two because it does not look good. It's a bad-looking aesthetic.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that, only because I enjoyed Goldberg, the way he got into Gunther's face and his yelling, doing the whole Goldberg shtick.
Cool. That's cool to do that, but let's stay away from it moving forward.
Right. Well, there's not much time left anyway. There's not much time for any kind of additional build. But and by the way, it makes sense that they're doing this on Saturday night's main event because it'll probably be a relatively short match. And so it makes sense to do it, obviously, because on Saturday night's main event, the matches are shorter anyway, because of it's the television format. They got to get in, get out.
No, one thing to keep in mind with this Saturday night's main event, it's happening in the summer.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to a key piece of NBC that airs on Saturday nights. They could run over and not suffer any penalty.
Oh, because of Saturday Night Live is a repeat.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do that, right? NBC's not going to want to let them do that. On network television, it's one thing on the USA network, but on network television, there's not going to be an overrun.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Overrun into a 9 o'clock?
I don't think.
Well, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying
theoretically, yeah, but
it's possible to do it.
It's unlikely though. These Saturday night's main events are very tightly formatted. I don't think it won't even be the last match on the show anyway.
I think if it is the last match on the show, we're having a cash in.
Yeah, that would be cool. Even if there's a cash in, I don't think it'll be at the end, because Saturday night's main event, historically, you front load it because it's on primetime network television. You front load it. It's not like a paper.
But because it takes place in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I think you're going to want Goldberg on last.
I'm going to predict they don't do that. That makes sense. And if it were a pay-per-view, I would say yes. But just historically, because of the way Saturday Night's main event is formatted, I don't think they'll do it. I think the attitude is, because it's on NBC in prime time, we got to front load the show. Otherwise, because viewers aren't going to, it's a different kind of viewer than the ones who watch SmackDown and Raw every week and watch all the PLEs. It's just a different, more mainstream, broader, casual viewer that you're aiming for. So you got to hook them early, just like I remember when I was a kid, when I first started watching it, like they, within the first half hour of the show, Hulk Hogan was already on the screen, and it was like, okay, so they're doing this early. And then by the time you get to the end of the show, it's some squash match nobody gives a shit about.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they do it.
Yeah.
Because there's pluses and minuses both ways. I
Yeah.
mean, what if Goldberg hurts Gunther? Which we're sitting here and some people will say, oh, Eric, you're just being Chicken Little. The sky is falling. This is actually a legit concern. Like, are you going to end the show with Gunther being stretchered out? Ugh, what a bad look. I mean, he almost broke The Undertaker's neck last time he wrestled.
Yeah. In Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
What's Bret Hart doing that night, do you think? Do you think Bret's there? Maybe Bret interferes on Gunther's behalf and makes sure.
I don't even think Bret's gonna watch.
Yeah, probably not. He probably doesn't care.
I definitely think we'll hear someone's gonna ask Bret a question at some point in the few days leading up to this.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get unfiltered Bret Hart on this. And it's gonna be beautiful, it's gonna be glorious, and we all should be happy with it.
Yeah. So okay, let's proceed this way. So tell us, because people are curious, I'm sure people who are watching or listening are very curious at this point. Why? Because you have not been shy about your feelings about this man. Why do you hate Bill Goldberg so much?
I don't hate him. Here's my thing.
I feel like you hate him.
No, this isn't Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair.
Okay.
I have a dislike of Bill Goldberg. Here's why. You disrespected this business. You can sit here and say, I drew millions of dollars. You did. You disrespected this business because you never learned this business. You never got better. You never honed your craft. You can be a powerhouse and still be scientifically sound in the ring. Undertaker, Kevin Nash, Vader, big men that were scientifically, Scott Hall, scientifically sound.
Yeah.
So for me, it's you never got better. And it really shows as he got older, the botches became so much more profound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can't just sit here and be like, I'm a star, I don't have to get better. Well, fuck you, dude, because yes, you do. That's what this business is about, you fucking imbecile. You gotta get better, because you're holding guys down, or you're throwing them under the bus because of your own ineptness in the ring. You're throwing guys under the bus that means so much more to this business than you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, is the thing. Like, this would be a guy that is blessed with playing quarterback for Notre Dame, and you ask him, what do you know about Touchdown Jesus? And he gives you a blank stare. Are you kidding me? What are you doing? Like, you have done nothing to hone your craft. You have done nothing to get better. That's my problem with Bill Goldberg. And his inability to do that led to careers being shortened and potentially major injuries, life-changing injuries happening to individuals, including himself, because he's a moron.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here. How do you know he hasn't tried to get better? Like, how do you know? Because just because someone doesn't appear to get better doesn't mean they're not trying. Like how do you know he hasn't made the effort, but he just can't? Maybe he just reached a certain peak of his abilities, but because he's obviously very over. I mean, they keep bringing him back. He still to this day is very over as a character, as a performer. But if you
bring Ric Flair back and he's over. Like, over doesn't indicate that over doesn't indicate that you're good at what you do or you're a good person. It means the fans are too stupid to know any better.
But nobody wants to see Ric Flair get back into the ring at this point, or at least I hope nobody should. But people still want to see Goldberg. People are actually, I mean, they popped when he came out and challenged Gunther.
Yeah, cool. But then at some point, Matt, the bell has to ring.
Yeah.
You know, and how do I know Bill Goldberg didn't get better?
Well, I'm saying, how do you know that he didn't try? Like, how do you know he didn't make
How
the
do I know
effort?
he didn't try? Because
Yeah.
I watched the Who Killed WCW documentary, and many individuals involved with WCW said wasn't there.
Yeah.
He didn't go when he got that push and got to that level.
Yeah.
He didn't go to the power plant for additional training. There was nothing backstage for him to learn what to do.
But in theory, if no one, I mean, doesn't some of that fall on management who?
Yeah, you can blame WCW management, and yeah, to a degree you should. But at some point, you should look at it and be like, how did everyone else has a good match with William Regal? Why didn't I? Probably isn't on the wrestling technician that is William Regal. It's probably on you, moron.
But I don't think the match with Regal was one of his best matches, but just because of Regal, because it was not as.
And it was still just a botch fest.
Was it? I don't remember. I just realized I forgot to mirror my camera. Sorry.
The thing is, guys have said working with him, he would lose his spot in the ring.
Yeah.
He would forget what he was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. You can do that. Okay, let me step back. Calm down for a second. You can do that. But to do it consistently,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
But if you're in his position and management is telling you, we just want you to do these quick squash matches and it's totally getting over and we're going to exaggerate about your streak and everything, because they used to do that. And we're going to do all this and we just want you to keep it simple, Bill, and you just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, if that's what he's being told and and he's making all this money, like, I can see how from his perspective, if I were in his position, I might feel like, yeah, why? I don't need to change anything I'm doing. I don't need to. I mean, they just want me to go out and beat everybody in 2 minutes. So I guess that's what's required of my job and my position to make money.
Back to the documentary, Who Killed WCW? Guys tried. Because guys were like, at some point, they went to Eric Bischoff. They're like, Eric, at some point, it's going to have a match. At some point, Eric.
Yeah.
It's going to have to lose. Backstage agents, Kevin Sullivan, Terry Taylor. At some point, Bill, going to have to put it together. At some point, you're going to have to. And people often bash Bret Hart for believing his own character.
Mm-hmm.
We don't bash Bill Goldberg for the same thing, because he did.
Well, a lot
Bill
of people
Goldberg
do.
legitimately thought he was this big badass.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. That's what led to the heat with him and Triple H.
Refresh my memory.
I mean, there was major heat with them because Bill said Triple H buried him and stopped his push in WWE. And it's like, well, no, you stopped your push because your matches sucked. Because in WWE, they didn't book you as this big badass powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
You were a powerhouse, but they wanted you to have matches with Triple H, with Shawn Michaels, with Chris Benoit. You couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So when you finally went over on Triple H is the heel, and the fans totally shit on it on pay-per-view.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Did they? I don't remember now. It was so long ago.
And it was in like a southern town. I believe it was in South Carolina when he eventually beat Triple H, a pay-per-view. So your region is booing a northern heel, is booing you after you beat a northern heel.
Yeah.
That is not Triple H burying you.
Right.
That is you in your inability to learn this business.
Mm-hmm.
He did the same thing to Kevin Nash when Kevin Nash had him go over at Starrcade 98.
Yeah.
Nash had the pen and Nash had the pencil, and he decided to book himself as champion. You know, it's so easy to blame Kevin Nash, but if you listen to Kevin Nash, he has a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, he's got to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't just have him run through guys because then the fans are just going to quit.
Right.
It's not going to, you're not going to sell anymore.
Yeah, there has to be a payoff.
There has to be something. And if
Yeah.
he wasn't going to lose, Kevin Nash at that point in time was over like Rover.
Yeah.
Back up the Brinks truck. Kevin Nash was printing money for
Right.
WCW. If he wasn't going to lose to Kevin Nash at that event, who were you going to have him lose to? You had him run through the Giant. You had him run through Lex Luger. You had him run through Sting. Like, at some point, you run out of guys for Goldberg to kick their ass.
Right.
What are you going to do? Bring in El Dandy?
El Dandy's a jam up guy.
Yeah. Jam him up the top? I mean, what are you going to do?
That was a deep cut, you got to admit.
It very much was. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to my original point. Bill never took the opportunity to understand the psychology, the hows and the whys of this business. And it shows just in his interviews and talking about things.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I dislike Bill Goldberg, because you can do whatever you want. If you just suck in the ring, you suck in the ring. I probably am going to have respect for you because you went out there and you still did it. But to suck in the ring and end up legitimately ending someone's career.
Yeah, you're talking about Brett.
Hurting others.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you gotta know.
Are there any Bill Goldberg matches that you thought were good, or do you think he was? Because I thought his match with DDP, for example, was actually probably the best match.
I actually think up until the hokey ending, his match with Kevin Nash at Starrcade 98 was amazing.
Okay.
The story they were able to tell, because Kevin Nash called it, but Kevin Nash really played to Goldberg's strengths. They didn't do a lot of chain wrestling. It was all power moves, but it was well done. DDP got a good match out of him. I think the match he had with Hogan at the Georgia Dome on Monday Night Nitro, where he won the world title, was really good.
Yeah.
He had bright spots. I think his performance in the Elimination Chamber at SummerSlam 2003 against Triple H and others was really good.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying every single time this man walks through the curtain, it's the drizzling poops. I'm saying that 85% of the time, the forecast is for drizzling shit, my friends, and you're just going to have to accept it.
Now, another criticism that people had at the time, I don't think people say this in hindsight necessarily, but at the time, some people, when Goldberg was ascendant with his winning streak in WCW, would say, oh, he's a clone. He's just their answer to Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I always thought was terribly unfair. To me, there were two completely different characters. And I thought people who are making this assessment, they're just, it's like they see a guy with a shaved head and a blonde goatee and they say, oh, you know, they're the same character, which I always thought was very strange. To me, they were completely different. And I never understood why people made that comparison other than just aesthetically, they looked vaguely similar. But even in that way, Goldberg was much bigger, much more jacked than Austin was. You know, Goldberg was wearing the black trunks and, you know, I just, to me, they were always completely different. But what say you about that?
They are completely different. I think
Yeah.
the look, certainly, but keep in mind at that time, that was a famous look.
Yeah.
That was a badass look. Bald head, goatee,
Yeah.
reasonably yoked. That was a badass look. You know, people still try to copy it to this day. So I don't agree with the comparisons because Austin, while he was champ, was having epic match after epic match, month in, month out. You
Mm.
gave Austin at that time, I want to say 96 to, good golly, Miss Molly, 90, early 9 to mid 99.
Yeah.
So about 3.5 years. Austin was a workhorse.
Oh, yeah.
Just epic match, epic match, epic match. You couldn't get that out of Bill.
Right. That's true.
You couldn't get those epic payoff matches out of Bill.
Yeah.
Strike that. You could, but it was few and far between.
Sure. I agree. So what was your first impression of Goldberg when they first started pushing him in WCW?
It was a cool idea.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool to have this undefeated guy. I thought it was awesome having him come out and just blow through people.
Yeah.
I think the night that I became like a believer in the streak was the night he ran through Hugh Morris. And then it was like, okay, when are you going to do it? When are you going to put him with Hogan? And look, I understand why they did it on Monday Nitro and not a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
A lot of people disagree with it. I think there's no wrong there. I think you sell out the Georgia Dome, you throw that match on there. Now, do I think Goldberg should have went over that night? I'm torn on that decision.
I think so. I think it was the right time. I think it was the right moment.
I think you could have. The thing is, and why I'm torn is because I could make an argument for doing a hokey finish.
Mm.
Like a total schmaz.
Yeah.
But then you're going to have 68,000, not to mention the millions watching at home. No pun intended there for Michael Buffer. Totally be just pissed off.
Yeah.
With no legit payoff because they never, I don't think they rematched.
No, not that
I think
recall.
that was it.
Yeah. Another big moment in Goldberg's WCW run that comes to mind is the heel turn, which I thought was very, very poor. And I remember Bischoff hinting at it. And I remember because I sensed at the time he was overselling. He said that something really big was about to happen. And this was when WWE had pulled ahead in the ratings consistently. And Bischoff, he did a sit-down interview, I think, with Shivani or somebody and said, something really big's about to happen. And there's nothing that anyone, including Vince McMahon, can do about it. And it's going to change the business or something like that. And it turned out to be the Goldberg heel turn where he sided with Bischoff and Russo. And I remember he comes out and he cuts that promo and he's like, people keep asking me why I did it. And I say, why the hell not? And it's like, no, that's not compelling. And then it just didn't work. I think the most dastardly thing they had him do was they had him beat up Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who had just beaten cancer. I think it was kidney cancer, maybe, or in his liver. I think it was in his kidney.
Yep.
Because I remember Goldberg repeatedly kidney punching Duggan to try to get over the fact that Goldberg was this evil villain now. And it just didn't work. And, they had to turn him back, I think, in a relatively short period of time. It just wasn't working.
Unceremoniously, too.
Yeah.
Like it had no build.
Yeah.
Look, I think at that point, WCW was just trying things.
Yeah, they were.
To try to get back on track.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Bill, again, I don't hate Bill Goldberg.
Right.
This disrespect for the business is my major issue.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I think, unfortunately for Bill Goldberg, being a big star, when you're trying to keep the ship afloat, the big stars are the ones that feel it because they're the ones that get messed around with. It isn't the undercard guys. The undercard guys stay as they are. You're trying to do something big to get people talking about you again.
Goldberg, from what I know, from what he has said, he wasn't a wrestling fan. He's not a guy who grew up watching wrestling and said, because you always hear the cliche, but I say that with respect. You always hear these people who say, "Oh, I grew up watching wrestling and I knew from when I was a kid that that's what I was going to do someday." That's not the story of Goldberg.
Side of guys in the 70s and I want to say mid 80s. The stars like Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan. You look at some of the best wrestlers from that time frame up till now. They are fans. Why? Because people, I'm sorry if you're tired of hearing it. You gain a respect for this business, and you carry that respect with you. CM Punk has so many tattoos on his body dedicated to those that helped him in this business. He has no gimmicks needed tattooed to his hand for Chris Candido, a peacock for Harley Race, something for Terry Funk, something for Eddie Guerrero. So that's respect for this business.
Yeah, and Punk also, too, we should point out, he often wears things that are evocative of both Macho Man Randy Savage and of Bret the Hitman Hart in terms of his wrestling tights. Yep.
And so, he has a deep-rooted respect for this business, and you don't get that without being a fan.
Sure. Yeah.
That's why Jim Cornette is so crazy about hating Vince Russo.
Yeah.
Because Jim is a fan of this business.
Right.
And takes it personally that Vince Russo there's that respect that you have to have.
Right. So Goldberg was, now did he play in the NFL?
He did for the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay. And then I don't know what happened. I assume he was cut or he was injured.
No, he had an injury.
He had an injury. And I don't remember the story of how he got into wrestling, but it was never, like I said, it was never a passion of his growing up or anything. It was kind of became a fallback position for him.
He tore his lower abdomen off his pelvis while playing for the Carolina Panthers.
Good Lord. That sucks. Oh my God.
That sounds very bad.
That sounds very, very painful. Yeah. Very painful.
Very, very painful. That's how it ended for him. I believe the story is kind of cookie cutter. Nothing big. Someone saw him working out at Gold's Gym in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And said, "Hey, you got a great look. Have you ever thought of being a pro wrestler?" And they invited him to the ECW gym. I forget what it was called.
Power Plant?
Yes, the Power Plant.
Yep.
And that's how it all started. He did write a book, Who's Next? Title.
Yeah.
Goes into it a little bit deeper. I never read it. Never have had a desire to read it.
Me neither.
But yeah, you gotta know the business that you're getting into. And I agree, should someone have taught him? Yeah. But when I hear guys say, "We tried, he just didn't, he didn't care,"
right?
That's on you.
Right.
Like teachers, you hear them say it all the time. If my student doesn't care, why should I?
Right.
Again, same premise. If the wrestler doesn't care, why should the promoter?
Mm-hmm.
The promoter should, because things can happen, and things did happen, and they're not good.
Right. Right. Who else did he injure? Do you know off the top of your head who else did he injure other than Bret? I mean, everybody knows about Bret Hart. Okay. So I can't, it's probably a list somewhere online, right?
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
Yeah. La Parka blew out his knee
Okay.
after receiving a spear.
Okay. That spear was pretty vicious because I've heard people say that that's not really a worked spear because Goldberg didn't know how to do a worked spear and that you're really taking that spear.
Well, La Parka was at an angle.
Yeah.
Too. And that's the worst time to throw it because you want to throw it when the guy can go flat back.
Yeah, of course.
Because if he doesn't go flat back, what happened to La Parka can happen. Your leg can get bunched up under you.
Mm.
And that's exactly what happened.
That sounds very bad.
Time Goldberg called another one. He called it in the ring. He held the ropes in his pinfall against Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia. Made Roman's win look weak.
Oh, okay.
He knocked himself out, giving a spear to DD. He I forgot about this. He kneed Rusev in the torso and slipped and fell.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that. I don't think I ever saw that. I know there's the one where he actually injured himself on the way to the ring.
Headbutting the door against The Undertaker.
Yeah. He headbutted the door and actually cut himself.
Then there was his most catastrophic.
Yeah.
When he punched a car window.
Yes.
And severed an artery in his arm.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, that was at Nitro, correct? An NWO Nitro or WCW Nitro. And that was kind of the ending show angle. He punched a window out of anger. He was trying to get to somebody. I don't remember who.
Bret Hart.
Yeah, that was just foolish. And I don't know what was going on, if he thought that it was breakaway glass or sugar glass or
Wasn't planned.
What's that?
It wasn't planned. He was supposed to pound on the car.
So he just assumed, he must have just in the moment, the adrenaline going, he just assumed, oh, I can punch right through that. And then he did. And he almost lost his arm.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Then there was this one. I totally forgot about this. During Goldberg's brief 2003-2004 run with WWE, he renewed his rivalry with former WCW coworker Chris Jericho.
Oh, yeah.
Another big situation. We'll have to touch on that after this because that was bad.
Yeah.
Resulting in one of several car-related botches in Goldberg's career. In a backstage segment, Goldberg watched on a video screen as his muscle car was defiled by Jericho in a can of paint.
Yeah.
In response, Goldberg rushed through the arena, hopped in his car, and attempted to chase down Jericho. Unfortunately, Goldberg drove off in the opposite direction of where viewers saw Jericho run away.
Yeah. Was it Goldberg who there was an incident where this was not probably his fault, but he was supposed to chase somebody in his car and the car stalled. So he got out and ran. Yeah. Which was, nothing else he could do, right?
It was with his feud with The Rock.
Okay. Right. And he had to get out and run.
Yeah. His car stalled. Then there was the time he hooked his own leg.
I don't remember that.
He lifted his leg to be pinned by The Undertaker, and so Undertaker could hook it. Undertaker did not. Goldberg looked very stupid. And his issue with feuding with Jericho shows his lack of understanding in this business.
Yeah, what was it? He didn't want to, because Jericho had this gimmick in WCW that I thought was hilarious, where he'd intentionally mispronounce people's names, and he kept calling him Greenberg or something instead of Goldberg, and so, but I guess Goldberg didn't want to work with him or something, and they had a backstage altercation. The first one,
he said it would be stupid because no one would believe that they would fight.
Yeah.
And
That
it's
shows
like,
a misunderstanding.
That's not the point of it, stupid. The
Right.
point of it is people want to see you kick Chris Jericho's ass.
Right.
Like, he isn't going to go over. You're going to go out and just destroy him.
Yeah.
Like, what don't you grasp here?
Yeah, that shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what this is supposed to be. Yeah.
Like, the whole pull apart between the two of them, and another one happened in WWE.
Yep. Years later. Yeah.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
We go back to the whole thing about not listening. Jericho's trying to explain to him, this is what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
He starts to fight with him.
Yeah. Good Lord. Jericho kind of kicked his ass, though, didn't he?
That's the rumor, that Jericho kind of...
Because Jericho doesn't back down.
No.
I mean, I have some criticisms of Chris Jericho, but I do respect that he doesn't back down from anybody. He doesn't care if you're 10 feet tall. He's going to stand up to you.
you know, that whole thing. You want to see what makes Chris Jericho great? His whole work during that.
Yeah.
Like, when he was walking out to the ring like Goldberg and got lost.
I was going to say...
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man.
Well, I was just going to say that does bring up something else that I always enjoyed about Goldberg was his entrance with the walking to the ring.
Easily top 10 greatest entrance of all time.
I thought that was cool. The way police or security or whomever, they would go to the door, they would go to his dressing room door, and then he comes out and they escort him to the ring. I always thought that part was cool.
And my favorite part is when he would come out and the pyro would go off and he would breathe in.
Yes.
And then breathe it out. And you're like, all right.
Yeah, visually it looked cool. That part always made me cringe a little bit, though, because I'm thinking, dude's going to end up with cancer. You know, that can't be. Be good for you.
I was hyped whenever that happened. In the music, that operatic.
Oh, yeah,
like Terminator style music, and the crowd chanting Goldberg. At first, I thought they were talking about the goalie from the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
I'm like, can get behind this. But like I said, at some point the bell has to ring.
Yeah. Yep.
And unfortunately, in some cases, it did.
Yep. Anything else about his career that we didn't mention that like an important or pivotal moment? I mean, we've kind of been jumping around, but
I mean, I think with Goldberg, you got to talk about the William Regal situation.
Yeah.
Really hurt Regal bad backstage.
Yeah. That was so at that point. Yeah. Goldberg had been doing all these squash matches, and then Regal went out and kind of shot with him a little bit, had a real match. But there's all these different stories about what actually happened and whose fault it was, and where there seems to have been a breakdown in communication there or something, but I'm not clear on exactly what happened because different people have different versions of what happened and where the breakdown
actually talked about this, that it was booked by Kevin Sullivan. The match, Kevin Sullivan was the producer of this.
Okay.
Basically how it shook down is it was William Regal in his book said it was supposed to be a test of the toughness for Bill Goldberg. Regal wrote, "Those were my orders for the match. To go out and have a competitive 6-minute match with him. He was to win in the end. We laid this match out in front of the people in charge. I got into the ring, did 1 or 2 moves on him, and he did nothing back. I did one or two more with the same comeback from Goldberg. Nothing. That's how it went on. Regal continued. I had to keep attacking him to keep the match going. I was opening myself up for him to retaliate, and he wasn't taking the openings. I was even telling him to do this or do that, and he just wasn't doing it. I don't know what his excuses were for the match. All I know is that he blamed me publicly for it.
Yeah. Okay. I believe William Regal.
He had only been in the business for 230 odd some days. Oh.
Well, that was really early then. Yeah. So less than a year. Yeah.
And he had done mostly 90-second matches to that point.
Right. Right. But again, I would say, I mean, you have somebody that new and that green getting this massive push. I would really put that on management to, why wasn't someone, I mean, was it impossible to mentor him? Was he so headstrong that
here's what Goldberg said happened.
Yeah.
This will show the massive deviation between the two stories. The Office this was on Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull sessions. The Office didn't tell Regal to go out there and try to take advantage of me and beat up a guy who had no idea what was going on. Dude, ask Regal. I have no idea. I know he tried to kick my face in a couple of times, and I was just giving him my face. Goldberg continued from there with, at the end of the day, I still don't know. It's all good. He's a shooter. If that made him feel better, then fine, but I don't get it. I'd love to scrap with him right now. It'd be beautiful. I'd love to at that time, too, had I known what he was going to do, but at the end of the day, it was resentment.
Oh, yeah, that's not a very mature, on his part, that's not a very mature way of looking at it.
Now, of note, William Regal was coming off a 7-week suspension at the time for his issue with a stewardess in a international flight.
I don't remember what happened.
He peed on the plane, essentially.
Yeah, kind of like a Bill Watts, except on a plane instead of on a ledge.
Yeah,
that's also frowned upon.
And over international waters.
Okay, yeah, that's not good.
You're high on pain pills.
Yeah. That's a moment to really kind of reassess your choices, your direction in life. If you're high on pain pills and urinating, I assume in the aisle, maybe, or
I think it was in the corner.
In the corner,
and
yeah.
Then the stewardess, I believe, tried to stop him, and he assaulted her.
Yeah, that's bad. That's all very bad. Very, very bad.
Now, to be fair, William Regal owned it and said, he was a scumbag and was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, he has.
I mean, Goldberg has held a grudge ever since this happened. The match, you can watch it on YouTube. I believe it's been cut from that Nitro on the WWE Network.
Really? It has?
So,
wow.
Just an infamous match. And you can sit here and you can make your decision of who you believe. But the stories are so different.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you gonna believe?
Yeah.
I know who I believe. Now, do I believe that it was miscommunicated to Bill?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
At WCW at that point in time, yeah.
At any point in time, that was a problem, yeah.
A veteran telling you in the ring what you need to do, you do it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I remember watching that match live, and it stands out vividly because I'm like, this is bad. You just lost interest because I was smart-ish at that point in time, smart to the business a little bit, but I was just like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Anything else we didn't talk about with Goldberg?
I mean, no, I think we summed it all up pretty succinctly here.
Yeah, I'm sure next week we'll talk about. No, that's next Saturday. So when we do next week's show, we may not have seen it yet.
Let me double check that date.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you got it right because I feel like because I know it's coming up soon because they've been kind of promoting that at the same time that they're promoting Night of Champions. So, or we're promoting that Night of Champions might be over by now, actually.
It is.
Okay. All right. I don't want to know anything because Jenny and I haven't even finished SmackDown yet, but I guess we'll kind of put a bow on it for now as far as Goldberg goes. I can pull this up one more time if you want like to gaze upon him. I can see it in his eyes. He's saying, "Eric, you're next." I can see it.
Just don't give me a stroke, Bill.
Fair enough. We did not talk about before the show what next week is.
You know, we talked about it a lot last week.
What's that?
I think we circle back and we cover the infamous WrestleMania 8.
Okay.
Why didn't we get Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan? Why didn't we? Why did Papa Shango come out late? Why was Shane McMahon officiating the first match?
I think, yes. Oh, that sounds good to me. Let's do that. WrestleMania 8. That'll be the main event.
Yes, that will require you to watch the event.
Yeah.
But yes, I think we should do WrestleMania 8.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, that'll be the main event for next week. Very good. Very good. If I haven't mentioned it, obviously some listeners will already know this depending on how they get the podcast, but it is on all the podcast platforms and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, you can also go to mattconnerton.com/toughbumps. You can find it there. And we do put it up on while we're streaming right now, in fact, on YouTube and Facebook and all that good stuff. And if you want more information about anything I do or am involved in or anything at all, mattconnerton.com. And what about you, Eric? Where should people...
I don't have my own website anymore. Yes, you can look me up on Instagram, epilcher17. Twitter, I'm pulling them up so I get it right, erpilcher319. Or on Facebook, Eric Pilcher. Or you can connect with me on the Tough Bumps page.
Excellent. Oh, by the way, I do have an update. Just apparently they've sold 2 more tickets. The Real American Freestyle now up to 382 tickets sold.
We deserve a royalty for that because we're talking about it live.
Yeah.
They popped 2 more tickets out of it.
Clearly, yes. It got the Tough Bumps bump.
Ooh. It got the rub.
Yes.
We got to use the term. We got the rub.
Got the Tough Bumps rub. I like it. All right, yes. So we'll conclude with that. Very good. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Tough Bumps episode 9. I'm Matt Connerton. He is Eric Pilcher, and I guess we'll talk to y'all next week. Bye, everybody.
Same here. Bye.
Tough Bumps name.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No